Hello and welcome. In this video, we'll talk about something that confuses many teams, but is critical to get right. How Microsoft Windows licenses works when running inside Docker containers. If you're using Windows containers in development or maybe production, especially at scale, understanding Microsoft's licensing model is key to staying compliant and avoiding unexpected costs. Let's keep it simple and focus on what you really need to know. Before we proceed, if you find this content helpful, please like and subscribe. Your support helps grow our community and signals to YouTube that this channel provides valuable information. I very appreciate your help in sharing knowledge. So, when you run Microsoft Windows in Docker container, the licensing depends on two things. What version of Windows you are running, Windows Server or maybe non-server editions like Windows 10 or Windows 11, and how you are running it. I am talking about development, testing, pre-production, etc., or maybe production environment. Let's start with Windows Server, which is really most common in production environments. If your host is running Windows Server, then that host needs a proper license. But what many forget is that each container also has licensing requirements, especially if you are using Hyper-V isolation. There are two major licensing models for Windows Server containers. With Windows Server Standard Edition, you can run up to 2 virtual operation systems environments per one license. If you're using Hyper-V isolation, each isolated container counts as one system. If you run more than 2, you'll need more licenses. With Windows Server Data Center Edition, you get unlimited licenses, meaning you can run unlimited containers on a licensed host, whether they use Hyper-V isolation or not. This is the better option for large-scale deployments. If you are a cloud or hosting provider, there is a different model. The service provider license agreement allows you to license Windows Server by usage, billed monthly based on the number of running instances. This is ideal if you are offering containerized Windows environments to clients. Now, let's talk about Windows desktop editions, like Windows 10 and Windows 11, inside Docker containers. Microsoft only supports using these systems in containers for internal development and testing, not in production. These containers can be used to test applications, build internal tools, or simulate environments. But they must stay inside the dev or test or similar stage. And there is no such thing as unlimited Windows desktop containers. Each instance must have its own valid license. You must also run these containers only on licensed hardware or virtual machines. Running them in production, even accidentally, puts you at risk of violation licensing terms. Now, let's talk about Windows container-based images. Microsoft publishes official base images like Windows Server Core and Windows Nano Server. These images come with a supplemental license that you must follow. Here are the basics. You must run these images on a host that is already properly licensed for Windows, the server or non-server editions. You can use these images to build and run applications, but you can't strip out the license, reverse engineer the image, or use it to avoid normal licensing rules. As of recent updates, you are allowed to redistribute based images as part of your container solution. For example, in air-gapped environments, as long as the license file stays intact and you are compliant with all related terms. Another thing to keep in mind is version compatibility. Your container image version must match the host operation service version, or at least be very close. Mismatched versions may lead potentially to runtime issues or failed container starts. This applies both to Windows Server and Windows desktop hosts. Also, please remember that Hyper-V isolation changes how containers behave. Technically, a Hyper-V isolated container is closer to a lightweight virtual machine. From a licensing perspective, it counts as a full virtual environment, meaning it needs its own license unless covered by Data Center Edition or SPLA model. Let's now look at this from a practical and business point of view. If you're building or scaling a Windows-based container environment, Data Center Edition gives you freedom and is more cost-effective at scale. Standard Edition can be cheaper for small setups, but gets expensive fast if you exceed 2 containers. Windows 10 or 11 containers are great for developers, but make sure they stay in dev or test and never production. If you're deploying for clients or users, consider SPLA to stay compliant and predictable with costs. Don't forget to track usage and maintain proper licensing records. Microsoft does perform our audits, and non-compliance can lead to higher penalties or forced upgrades. Also, if you're using Azure Container Instances ACI for Windows containers, Azure handles the base OS licensing. But you still need to follow image licensing rules and use only properly licensed images for building your containers. The same situation in case of any other cloud providers like AWS, GCP, etc. Finally, make sure you are using the right tools. In production, many companies use Mirantis Container Runtime, formerly Docker Enterprise for Windows. It offers enterprise-grade support for Windows containers and still fully supported by Microsoft. In conclusion, running Windows in Docker containers is possible, but it's not free just because it runs. You must understand and follow the licensing terms, whether using Windows Server or Windows 10 or 11. Smart licensing decisions today will save you money, reduce legal risk, and help your team scale safely. Thank you for watching, and see you next video.